Hello everyone. Well, today we're going to be talking about how I plan to add moisture to all these Morel beds that I'm making outside. And I just got in the mail a big roll of 1/2-inch drip irrigation mainline tubing. It's the same tubing that I would be using for my garden as the main line for the drip irrigation. Of course, I'm using mainline and drip irrigation tape for that, going down the rows. But into that main line, I'm going to be putting in these little misting units. See, these ones are singular. They make them in kind of like a 4-way pattern, or a 5-way with one going down as well. These ones are pretty cheap. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for them, but it was pretty cheap off of AliExpress, the website where you can buy items from China. And for each one of these misters, there's a little adapter piece for a 1/4-inch barb. And it's the same style of pieces you'd be using to punch into mainline tubing with this punching tool. You can see right here, it punches a 1/4-inch hole. And then this just pops into that hole, and that's all you really need to keep it in there for a low pressure system. Now, one of the questions I need to figure out is, can I do this without having to use a low pressure system, or do I want to use a low pressure system? One of the advantages of using low pressure is that you can get more even spacing of or even water usage throughout the distance of your line. I've seen people's gardens that actually have maybe like 500 feet of drip irrigation tubing and a really low 10 psi pressure, and pretty much the end of it watered the same as the front of it. But I have 10 psi regulators that I would use for my own drip irrigation. But usually it's 10 psi or 15 psi. If you have well water, you want to get one of these. It's a filter, an inline filter that you can unscrew and clean out, so you're not getting chips of lime and dirt and sand and whatnot. I have a variety of adapter pieces for the 1/2-inch tubing. Here's just some basic terminal end pieces. I got some T's, some elbows. Then also too, I have these larger adapters. They're a bit pricier. They kind of screw in and lock into it. And then it has a regular 3/4 garden hose thread cap on the end as a clean out. And these here as well are 1/4-inch barbs that go in the mainline tubing, and this would attach to 5/8 irrigation tape. But I probably won't be using these. And to control the timing of this misting system, because I don't want to obviously running constantly on, I don't have to babysit it every day. I want to use some sort of water timer, like this Orbit brand one that I've used before. This one can control 2 lines, and it's pretty good. I haven't had one of these fail on me yet, except for I left one out in the middle of winter, connected to a hose with some water in it, and it got some water damage where it broke apart some pieces, but that's about it. And that, I think it can run 2 programs. But what I might do as well is put together a 24-volt AC sprinkler controller system, because that's what they sell for people's lawns that have sprinkler systems. It's solenoids that control the valve. usually like 1-inch or 1/2-inch PVC. And of course I'll have to get adapters from PVC to whatever else I'm using. But then set up a system and I can have any number of solenoid valves running. I could even make my own control system using a microcontroller like an Arduino or whatnot, or buy one of the commercial sprinkler control systems that they sell. That, you know, they usually are able to control quite a few solenoids at once. But make some system where I can put it on a timer, and it'll probably be 2 or 3 times a day. It'll mist out for maybe like, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes. These particular misters say they're rated for 2 gallons of water an hour, or about 8 liters of water an hour, which is quite a bit. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to turn them on for a few minutes. So what I'm going to do today is actually, I want to put a length of that tubing and misters up against the back side of my house and use kind of a system as both a test, and I want to do a permanent thing up there to mist the side of my house a few times during the middle of the day to take some of the heat from the sun beating down on it. Now I know this idea works quite well. My brother has a boat that he's used a misting system on the outside of it that greatly reduced the temperature on the inside of the boat when the sun was beating down on it. And you know, it'll just evaporate, and the evaporation cools off the area. But yeah, I'm interested to see if I can get my kitchen area cooled off, because running 4 pressure cookers at once in the middle of summer when it's 95 degrees out, and I pretty much have to close the kitchen off from the rest of the house, and then put a fan and exhaust from the air outside. But you know, it's very hot. But if I can do something to cool off the kitchen and the lab room area, both on this side, so I'll take some conduit pipe hangers, these little metal tabs, and put it up on the soffit up on the underside here, and just have the mist spraying this way to get kind of a swath. And each one of those misters has about a 1 by 1 meter space they can cover. So I think that's going to be plenty for both the back of the house and for basically a 4-foot wide row, but it's going to be a little bit narrow. But yeah, about 4-foot wide Morel bed row. The mister should give a nice coverage. Here are the misters with the 10 psi regulators on them, and you can see they don't put out a whole lot, but they still mist. Of course, if you had to do these low pressure, you would just have these mist for about a half hour or so, maybe more, and that would give you the adequate amount of moisture. Here are the misters running at full power, and you can see they're putting out quite a bit. Also, what's good too is that the pressure isn't popping the ends off this mainline tubing. So even though it's a low pressure adapters and low pressure tubing, the misters let out enough pressure that it doesn't wreck itself. But I think this is going to be quite enough. Alright, I got it up there. Spacing is 5 feet. Pretty much the same spacing I would be using down the row for the mushroom beds. I need to get some 2-hole straps so I can get that water line a bit more secure up there. You can see it's kind of flopping down. And then get some straps to connect this down into the bricks rather. Have a junction here at the hose. But yeah, it's making a lot of mist. I'll be interested to see if that cools things down in my house over the next few days when it's supposed to be very sunny and hot.